Welcome to today's training, and I still have not washed my hair, in case you were wondering, because washing hair can wait when you have a business to build. Okay, so let's get right to it. So today's video has a little surprise speaker. I had another topic lined up, but then I was like, it's boring. It's more stuff about the business. Let's talk about real life things, the day-to-day reality of the business, and being a human and having a spouse maybe. It's when you come in. Dun, dun, dun. So today we're going to talk about how to what? You can't sit there. You have to sit like, you can't. This is how Kevin wants to be the guest speaker in the video. Can you please like fold that pillow in half and just sit right next to me? He's always trying to like be behind me. It doesn't really work. Excuses is all I hear. Can you sit up next to me, please? Thank you.
My hips. Scoot back.
Scoot back?
Yeah, you scoot back.
Okay.
There we go.
Okay. So today, Kevin wanted to talk to you guys after I asked him to. Because a lot of times we see, the person, the face behind the business, but we don't see the backbone behind the business. And I want to go ahead and just start it off by saying, the first couple of years, this was my baby only. I started this for me. This was something that was making me happy. This is something that I want to do with my career and my life. And it was something that made, that basically that I want to do made me happy. And as a person, as a grown-up, I don't feel like I need to ask permission to do anything that I want to do. So I want to start that by saying that, both Kevin and I are very independent people. He had his career, his job, I had my job, and I was in school, and we meet in the middle with everything. And when Beachbody came into my life, Kevin saw that it made me happy. He saw that I stopped.
We discussed it.
We did. Okay. So
we talk about things.
So the first thing that happened was that I met my coach on Facebook. I saw her on Facebook, and I told him that she was doing P90X, and then I wanted to do P90X, but we couldn't afford it. And so, what is the first thing that he went and did as a supportive spouse?
I bought P90X online.
He went and he bought it from beachbody.com and surprised me with it, which of course did not make my coach very happy because he bought it from beachbody.com and not from her. So she didn't get commissions, but and
no coach ever reached out to us. You know how they go in the pool?
Well, that was like 6 years ago. I don't even know how that even worked.
Just think so.
Back then. I would just think somebody could have had me as their lead.
Somebody missed.
But I would have probably switched back to Liz anyway, because I'm a very loyal person. So like when people like coach swap and flip flop and all that, like I wouldn't ever do that. That's just not my character. I'm very loyal. So so Liz was my coach because Liz is the one who introduced me to Beachbody. And so she's like, don't worry, I'll still coach you for free. I'll still coach you, get in my accountability group, whatever. And don't read the comments; they're gonna drive you crazy.
No, I'm listening. I'm listening and reading.
Well, I recommend not reading because somebody like translates like everything I say.
No, but that's Britt. She was saying something else.
Oh, I know, but we need to concentrate on ours.
No, just talk.
Okay,
I'm good.
anyway.
I'm listening.
So
I can hear you.
So fast forward to 3 months later, and I decided I wanted to sign up as a coach. And I don't even think it was. How did the subject go? I don't even remember. I just remember that I wanted to get on.
It wasn't even a thing at that point. It was just like, oh, you got it for free if you bought Shakeology, and we were like, whatever.
No, so you can sign up as a coach for free if you bought Shakeology.
Right. Yeah, so you did it.
And then I told you that if I help 3 people that I'd get it paid for.
Right.
So that's how it started. It started off with me really not being able to afford to have Shakeology every month on home delivery unless I became a coach and helped 3 people. So from the beginning, that was always my goal. Like the only reason I sound
Someone is translating everything you say. It's hilarious.
I don't know. This lady like translates everything. And
sums it up. It's cool.
No, it's cool. It's just it can be very distracting. That's why I told him not to read it.
Especially because I always go.
He's always like reading the comments. I'm like, don't read the comments. Just concentrate on the.
And then you ask me a question, and I'm like.
And he's like always trying to like reply to people. I'm just like, it's not gonna work. So, let's fast forward to me saying I was a coach and starting the business.
It's really hot on the floor here.
I know. Well, why just turn on the fan? We live in the Caribbean. We do not have central air.
There's no airflow right there.
And the doors are closed, so we don't have any airflow right now. So he went to go put on our fan. My hair still does not move because it's so crusty and dirty that it's just like stuck in one place. Okay, so we get to the point, let's fast forward to the point where I'm about to quit my job. And I'm about to go full-time Beachbody. What, do you remember that conversation? Do you remember how that went?
So, I mean, like, going up to it, that's when things started getting more serious. Like, with Beachbody, like, you were really passionate about working it.
How did I show you that I was serious? And that this
you
wasn't
never
just
really did. You just always, you went at it like you were very, you always worked out a lot. Like, you never missed your workouts. You were just really passionate about that.
But how did you...
You always just talked to me about, because I was in sales, so you would ask me about, like, how to deal with people and how to talk to people.
So I
included
you on the podcast.
Yeah, and you asked me, like, you know, tips, and then you'd be like, does this sound right? And I'd be like...
So, in the beginning, I was always asking him for his input and his help. And I think that's something that a lot of coaches don't do with their spouse, is that they make it like a him versus me thing, or a competition, or like that they have to like convince their spouse. And
so here's one thing I think that needs to be addressed, because there's people who have said it multiple times, like, how do I get my spouse on board? You don't.
How do I get my spouse to work the business? You don't.
You definitely don't. But I mean, on board meaning like supportive, I think that's just an issue of someone supporting you or not.
I mean, that's your relationship.
Yeah,
if your husband doesn't support you in something that you want to do, I mean, that is a personal, that has nothing to do with Beachbody. That has to do with your relationship.
Like, we've always been like, you know, for instance, like if I'm like, hey, I want to quit my job and become a personal trainer, you're like, sweet, like, how do we do that? And you talk about it. Or if you want to, like, we always had that kind of relationship where, let's move to San Francisco. All right, awesome, let's do it. You know, like, let's do this. Let's figure out how to do it. Like, we would always just, we were very open and talkative about things that were going on.
And what we have found is with Beachbody is usually it brings to the head issues in a marriage that were there already that just were not being talked about. And so when these issues come to head, because like Beachbody brings them to head.
So I don't think that Beachbody brings it to a head. I think that if it's something that you become very passionate about and it begins to take up your time, it could be like anything, but I think like that's the thing. It's not Beachbody doing this.
Well, Beachbody's the avenue.
Yeah, it's like, it's not the, but Beachbody is not the instigator, and I think that a lot of stuff gets put on Beachbody is why I want to like differentiate that, because people are like, Beachbody is doing this. Like, Beachbody's not doing this. Like, if you're passionate...
This is an issue with your relationship.
Yeah, if you're passionate about working your business, you know, and you're not excluding every other aspect of your life because you are working your business, then I think like there's no reason not to be supportive. But then that goes back to, you know, if you wanted to get back to when you wanted to quit your job, we talked about it. You know, we like broke down our finances and we were like, this is what we're looking at. And I was like, well, I make this much, you make this much, this is how much we need to live.
Yeah, so
you know, so we're cutting out this much.
And
then I was like, okay, so you need to make this much more money a week. And you were like, well, this is what I'm making. And we did a projection. Like, we approached it like adults, and we looked at it, and it, like, was feasible.
Like, how do we make this work?
And then I believed in, like, her ability to, like, make shit work. Because if you know Amy, you know that it'll probably work. And I was like, cool, so let's do it. And that's what happened. You know, you quit your job, and we moved, like, to Oregon to cut our, like, our living expenses, and not because of Beachbody, but just because of life in general, quality of life.
We were after a better quality of life, and we realized living in San Francisco was not going to give us that quality of life.
And like, you quitting your job fit perfectly in that whole time frame, and just, you know, like, everything kind of worked out, like it always does. So, yeah, I mean, it wasn't. And that's the thing. I don't know how to address the question of how do you get your spouse on board, because I don't know. I found no reason to not be on board. there
and,
are.
And I also want to say that like Kevin didn't do the workouts. Sometimes he did.
Sometimes he did, sometimes he didn't.
Sometimes he didn't. You know, it's like he drank Shakeology, but then other times he didn't. And it's like I never needed Kevin to like do this for me to do this. You know, and that's where people, I think, like, they want their spouse to get involved and they want their spouse to work a business. When I decided to retire or to fire Kevin's boss, my goal wasn't for Kevin to work the business and become a 5-star diamond coach under me or something.
So that's the thing too, was I want to address like some wording too.
Well, I fired your boss, I didn't retire you.
No, not that. I'm saying like you need to have a discussion about where your goals are and what's going on there too. Because like we talk to a lot of people who are like, my goal is to fire my husband's boss. And it's like, well, what's his goal? And our goal was for me to come home.
Well, I think typically if that's the goal, it's probably the husband wants it too.
We've had a couple conversations where the husband's like,
that's true. We have had couples come up to us at events, and the woman in front of the husband is like, yeah, I want to bring him home. And the husband's kind of just like,
no.
Like, I don't really want to come home.
Like, I like my job. Like, I like what I'm doing.
And I'm like, is this something that you guys have talked about? Like, sometimes I feel like women really project what they want onto their spouse and don't even have like a conversation with them and just expect them to like be a certain way because they see Kevin being a certain way, or they see, Patrick or somebody else.
And you know what? They have a perception of the way that I am.
It's true.
They don't know me.
Right.
So they have a perception they have a perception of the way that we work our business and what we do with our life.
So let's tell them a little bit about how we work our business and how we manage our life and how, the work-life balance. Let's talk a little bit about that.
So I would definitely say first and foremost, when I left my job, it was not all sunshine and rainbows and unicorns and like amazingness.
And I think a lot of times new coaches see like the marketing that Beachbody coaches do on Facebook, and they're like, I retired my husband's boss, life is great, now we can work together whenever we want, and we can go do this whenever we want. And yes, there was a lot of that, but then there's also where there's a yin, there's yang. You can't have all the good stuff without having the hard stuff too.
And I mean, it was your business.
It was my business.
And
for years.
You worked the business, you built the business. I would help when I could, like if you needed me to run a report or like do something, like I would do it.
But mostly the help that he did was like he picked up with like cooking the food and preparing food, making sure I ate. Like he would come home from work and there'd be like a burnt pot of like lentils, and I'd be just like eating like mush because I was so focused on work that I wouldn't even like eat. I would just like put some lentils to boil and just like eat mush because I was just like, I think we were vegan at that time, and so I just didn't want to devote any time to like preparing food. So he would come home and he'd be like, you need to like eat a meal.
Yeah. And so
it was like Shakeology and lentil mush.
Yeah. And the thing is like, so it was your business. So when I came home, like figuring out where I fit in that business was very different. And then also like as a guy, figuring out all the shit that goes along with being a dude who comes home and doesn't have a job anymore or a paycheck with your name on it was I didn't think it would be a big deal. Like I was very aware of what I was getting into, but we didn't have anybody else who had done it around us. And so I didn't have anybody to talk to about it. About like possible pitfalls of coming home. And then when I came home, it's obviously there's like that party period where like you don't have a job and like everything's like amazing and like you're doing shit. But then all of a sudden like you gotta find stuff to do, and like we gotta figure out the business, and we gotta figure out where I fit in the business, and like and it was just like, I don't know. I like totally
he lost his identity.
I lost my complete identity in that.
Because a lot of men's identity is bringing home the bacon. It's like how a lot of guys are raised.
And like I was in a management position. Like I ran a department. I fired people. I hired people. I strategized. I like looked at all these numbers. I had like worked my way into promotions. Like I was like like I had stuff going on. And then I came home. And all of a sudden, like, my identity was all that stuff. Like, was like, my ability to like.
And a lot of times, our identity is our work.
Especially in Western culture, And I came home and I had nothing.
So let's talk about like the process. So I remember at one point he wanted to be a top 10 coach.
I was trying to figure out the business.
At one point, he wanted to be a top 10
Yeah,
coach.
so we were like, let's just build it together and we'll just do this. And then I was like, well, I fucking hate talking to people.
And the best feeling ever was like, I remember one day, like he was like helping me or working or something, and he came to the room and he was like, okay, he's like, this is a lot harder than I thought it was. He's like, I give you so much props.
And the funny thing is if you talk to a lot of guys who come from like sales careers and they come home, they're like, I'm gonna crush this thing. And then they work it for like a month and they're like, God, this sucks.
This is so tired. Like they can't. It's just like emotionally drains them because it's so different than any other thing. It's not sales, you know. This business is it can really make you or break you, you know. And Kevin got broke.
Well, and then also like let's back that up, because you build like this life where it's about having your own time and your own freedom and being able to do things when you want to do them, which does not necessarily open you up to going and getting a job. Like, so if it, like Beachbody, I found out like I didn't want to go become a top 10 coach, and I didn't want to build a business of my own in that respect. Like I didn't want to go recruit people, but also
he wanted the lifestyle that Beachbody was going to provide.
We both wanted that, like to be able to travel, like, you know, we wanted to be able to do these things. And if I was like, all right, this isn't working, I'm going to go get a job.
And you knew, he knew the financial, like he saw how much our business had grown year after year, which was like doubling and tripling in the first couple of years. Mm-hmm. It doesn't grow by that much anymore, but it still grows substantially every year. And he saw the ability to be able to travel and to pay off our debt. And so he definitely didn't want to go back to work. Like that wasn't an option. So,
and it didn't fit in like our view for
so we dug our heels in, and we were like, well, we got to figure out how to make this work then. You know, we got to figure out how to make this work.
And it got worse.
And it got worse before it got better. There was talk of separation and divorce, and that didn't happen because we really like each other. So we decided, well, that's not happening. So we got to make it work. And so then that's when we started going to Tony Robbins together and started doing personal development seminars together, which I think is so important for marriages, is that, you know, you got to grow together. You can't, just one person can't be growing and the other person staying the same.
So we found our individual identities again. And also a huge thing.
At UPW.
Huge thing. So someone told us early on, I think it was like at some Shalene thing or something, like one of the leadership or something, but she was like, you know, your spouse is not your assistant. And when I came home and I didn't know what to do, we were kind of like fell into that, like, well, what do you need me to do kind of like role, you know? And it would be like, you know, we'll run these reports and send this out and do this. And then I'm like, and then I get resentful because I'm like, you're treating me like I'm like your secretary. And then she gets resentful because stuff's not getting done.
And you know what that does for your sex life?
Kills it. You know what it does to your marriage is it kills it, because all you, like, basically like any polarity you have or anything is gone. Yeah. I want to see how that's translated.
So how are you going to translate that one, Kathy?
But yeah, so I mean, and that was a huge thing. And so we learned, and we went to Tony Robbins and we kind of figured it out. And then we figured out our individual identities. And then we also figured out that we really both enjoyed avenues of, or like parts of the business. And they weren't the same parts.
Yeah. So what we realized is that what we needed to actually do was find out what Kevin's strengths are and insert that into the business. Insert. Sex life got better. Insert.
So.
Anyway.
Knock me off my game.
I think he's blushing.
It's just really hot. So, no, but I think like you figured out stuff that you really like enjoyed doing, and I figured out stuff that I like enjoyed doing, and they weren't the same things, but they both added a lot to the business. And then we haven't stopped there. That was a couple years ago, and we never really stopped with that, like constantly tweaking things.
It's an evolution, for sure.
And if there was one thing that you were going to take away from, you know, wanting to work a business with your spouse or anything like that, is that like the constant communication is very key.
Yeah.
I know that sometimes it's like, you know, like I'll ask you like 5 times like about something specific, and it takes me that long to get to like a specific answer, but it's because like those things, like that clear, honest communication about your business, not about everything else, is really important to keeping like a relationship going and things separate. You know, and then the fact that there is a separate business that is separate from our relationship.
Yeah.
You know, is hugely important. Like, our business is not our relationship, and our relationship is not our business.
Right.
You know, and that's something that took a while for us to kind of figure out. But when everything is one, it's a shit show. Because like all the stress from your relationship is in your business, and all the stress from your business is in your relationship, and then it's all just a lot of stress, and you can't separate anything and get it done. When in fact, this is a great avenue to give us an amazing life. Like, Beachbody has, you know, definitely given us things that I don't know how else you would have achieved, at least this quickly, you know, in the time that we've been doing it.
I mean, we've been together since I was 23. I started Beachbody, I became a Beachbody coach at 25, and here I am at turning 32 this month, and we've been together almost 10 years, and the best years of our lives have been in the last 3 years. The best years of our relationship have been the last 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, for sure. And we definitely work harder now than we ever have. But we're all both
We work very hard.
But we're both like, there's a level of like honesty and communication, I feel like, in our relationship based, and then like a lot of this is from like all the stuff we went through with Beachbody, which is pretty cool. You know, it like
Personal development.
like it kind of forced us to
We
grow.
wouldn't go to Tony if we weren't Beachbody coaches. You know, like, we were exposed, like,
We got sent to Tony.
my
by
upline
Beachbody.
coach, actually, Barbie Decker, when we were having issues with our relationship, she's like, I'm sending you guys to UPW, and she sent us.
Yeah.
We don't think we would have gone if it wasn't for Barbie.
No, and it was a great experience, and I think it's really unfortunate that, you know, this business gets blamed for a lot of stress that happens in relationships, because, you know, if you're talking about things and you're communicating about everything, then there really shouldn't be much stress. I mean, you know, money is always going to cause some stress. And owning a business together, I feel like, is always going to cause some stress, because, you know, we work together. So if she's got a lot of stuff going on and I have a lot of stuff going on and it's related to the business, it's completely different, because she handles, you know, more of the team and I handle more of like the back end and blogs and writing and stuff like that. You know, then like it can be stressful, but we're able to like kind of put that aside at the end of the day and just kind of move on. And I think that like a lot of times, as the coach, whether you're male or female, and then you have your spouse or your significant other, you know, communication about what you want and what he wants is important, and also like what they want to do.
And so let me get to the point here. So basically what you need to do, if you have not done already, is you need to sit down with your significant other, and you need to have a talk, and you need to talk about where you're going with this, why you're going wherever you're going with this, the fact that you are not going to stop anytime soon. This is something that's going to be in your life forever. If you haven't had this conversation with your significant other yet, I will challenge you to think that perhaps you haven't, because you're looking for an out in some ways, and you know that your unsupportive spouse or partner is going to be your out. And I see that all the time, where it's like, oh, my spouse never supported me anyway. And it's like, well, because you didn't demand that respect, and that you didn't demand that support, and you weren't.
Also, have you ever had a conversation about what the hell you're actually doing?
Well, yeah, and then a lot of times, people are like, well, my spouse doesn't support me, but you're not getting results with the programs. You're not being serious about the business. Your paychecks aren't growing. And that was one thing that really got Kevin on board, was when my paycheck started growing. And I remember my first $1,000 week, he was like, oh, you know, and like, and there's one thing that men respond well to is results, and the fact that like you got to start bringing in the income and start showing them that you're serious. Like I said in the other video, it's like, you can't be talky, support me, but then not actually doing the work to show them that you're serious. And
that was one of the things from my point of view, is that I never like questioned where she wanted to go with the business, because you work so hard at it.
Right.
So like there was no reason to. Like, your actions more than met up with where you wanted to go. So it was like, it's not like you were not doing anything and telling me like, we're gonna make this much money a week, and I'm like, by what? You know, like
by you playing on Facebook.
And that's another thing that I think is important to say is that, like, when you have time that you're spending with your spouse, spend that time with your spouse.
Put your phone in the car.
Keep
your phone. Another thing, you guys, your notifications should not be on your phone. If you're one of those people, have you ever sat with a Beachbody coach and it's just like ding, 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 ding? Like, there's leaders, sometimes I'll be at like a leadership event and their phone is blowing up with notifications and I'm like, how do you live like that?
Well, and they keep looking at it.
And
it's natural that you're going to look at it when it
and I'm like, how do you function? Like, our phones are always black, unless you turn it up.
Yeah.
Our phones are always black. Coaches on my team know that if you text me, you probably will not get a response back from me for at least a day or two, or anybody in my family for that matter, because the only way for me to check my text messages is if I go in my phone and see if anybody's texting me, because it's just not, this is not, like, when your business is social media and technology, you need to know how to unplug from it, because then otherwise the people that care about you and the people you care about will start to feel like they are second to your business. And whenever we go out to eat, I mean, I'll take out my phone and be like, and take a picture of him or snap him or have him take a picture of me or something, but then the phone goes away. You know, it's not like I'm on Facebook and scrolling. Like, I hang out with coaches sometimes on my team where I just observe them and they're so addicted to their phones. If we're all sitting around a table, their nervous energy, like, is to get on the phone. And just, you know, even like on the, I was on a top 10 trip. Remember the top 10 trip? Top 10 trip, all the top 10 coaches, like, they couldn't, like, you just see it. They would just like grab their phone whenever it got uncomfortably awkward, instead of like trying to come up with a conversation or get through the awkwardness. All of a sudden they just be like this. Because it was just more comfortable to be on their phones and to be working. And I'm like, you're on the top 10 trip that you earned. Get off your fucking phone and talk to the people across the table from you, you know? But it's just the way it goes, because people have such addictions to technology, and that affects their business, and that affects their life, that affects their relationship with their spouses, with their friends, and you start to alienate people.
There's no point in building a business if you lose everything on the en route.
Yeah.
You know, not saying every relationship is positive and healthy, but if you want to keep yours, I would say that being about the business, being open about it, and saying what you're doing, what your plans are, also explaining what it is that you're doing on your phone. When you're, you know, like, why you need to be on your phone, because as a guy,
are you actually being productive, or
right,
are you just on your phone because it makes you feel more comfortable? You know, like, sometimes it's a comfort thing.
And do you need to check your groups 15 times a day when you're out? Do you need to check, like,
does your team really need you to comment on their questions, or can they fend for themselves?
Do you need to check Instagram every 5 minutes to see likes?
And this actually helped my business and helped my team, because it allowed leaders to step up and answer questions and to like come into more leadership roles on my team wall, because I wasn't there to answer questions. And I would actually go and I'd talk to like a couple, when I go on trips, I go and I ask a couple of my top coaches, hey, would you mind just making your presence known in my PS coach group a little bit more while I'm gone, so that all the new coaches feel supported? You know, I'm recruiting like anywhere from 40 to 60 new coaches a month. I could really use the help, and they're more than happy to help. And then they get to step up as a leader. And I get to live my life that I've worked really hard for.
Well, and if you don't set those boundaries, then they just get crossed continuing. And then as your team grows, you're going to have like more and more people demanding your time, and then it just grows, and then all of a sudden you're like...
And that's one thing that Christine Dwyer said. She said that your business, the way it is now, you should be able to handle your business the way it is now with 10 coaches as much as it when it grows into 10,000 coaches. And so if the way that you are working with your teams right now is not going to be manageable when your team is in the thousands, then you have to change the way you do things. And that was a huge eye-opener for me when I realized that I need to have more boundaries with my team. I need to have more boundaries with my social media, that, you know, and you know what, in turn, it's helped my business, because I have so much more to talk about, so much more to share about. You know, like, we're going on a trip next week. I work when I travel, I plug in, I do the behaviors. I'm going to talk about that. That's another training, so I don't want to get into too much to that. I'll talk about that tomorrow. But it, you know, it's just that we know that this is a business that we work hard to grow. And so, you know, we talk about it a lot, and we game plan, and we talk about it a lot, but that took years to get to grow into, you know. And so you have to be patient. Your spouse has to be on board. This is going to be like your career, and you got to think about it. Like, I was thinking about Christina Delgado and how she was a partner in a law firm, and how she worked probably like 80, 100 hours a week away from home at the law firm. And there was no, that was just the way it was, because that was her job, right? And so her husband was just like, that's the way things were. And I think that Danny's always been a stay-at-home dad. I think.
Well, he does real estate.
He does real estate on the side, but he's been more present.
He does real estate investment, yeah.
But he was more present at home than Christina was, because she worked so much, and she's building her Beachbody business while being a partner in a law firm. But, you know, at the same time, it's like, then when people go to start a home-based business, you'll be working the same amount of times as a lawyer that's a partner in a law firm, 80, 100 hours a week to get it up and running. And, I mean, I know that's how much Lindsay Matway worked her first couple years. And then people don't understand because you're home. So you need to have that conversation with your at home, and I'm going to talk about that. That's tomorrow's subject, is more about how to delegate and how to get it all done, and what my workload looks like, what his workload looks like, and just so you guys can get an idea of how I make it all work. Because being number 3 in the company, going on the 5th year in a row, it's, we work very hard, and it's 2 people working 50 to 60 hours a week, so that's a combined 100, 120 hours a week. And we have an assistant. I had 2 assistants, one didn't work out, but it's not just a one-woman show anymore. If I want to continue to produce the amount that I produced 3 years ago before I had an assistant, before Kevin was working the business, then I need to start to add more people to the company. And this is a company. So we'll talk about that tomorrow, but I hope this has been really helpful to you to hear from Kevin, and to see, from his point of view, from a male point of view, how the evolution was and how we came to be. And hopefully this will give you that ability to have that conversation with your spouse or your partner or your mom or whoever, your dad, whoever you live with, that is giving you the support that you need to be able to make this happen. Because I will say that the reason why I've been able to make this work is because I've always had his support. I've always had him to lean on. He's always been there to help me. He feeds me, and he makes me sane when crazy girls drive me crazy on the team, and social media drives me crazy. He is the person that keeps me sane. And if I didn't have him on my side, if he was adding to that insanity, I would be complete nut job, and I would probably quit, because why would you want to be doing something, that everybody's against you, So, yeah, that's it. Oh, my Snapchat is Wanderlust Amy. I actually update more on my Instagram stories now. Snapchat for me is just I'm all about streamlining. If I have to jump from one app to another app to another app, it's just too much. I prefer just to stick to one avenue. Keep it simple. Keep it simple, stupid. All right, thanks for tuning in, you guys. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye.